Welcome to the Social University Podcast. We are so glad you're joining us today because we want to help business owners, entrepreneurs, and people just like you who want to build their business online. Listen, if we can do it, you can do it. So let's go.
Good morning. I'm Karen Trottis with Social U, and welcome to What's Up Wednesday, where we come to you live every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. Central to talk about social media tips, tricks, and trends. We usually have themes every single month. Of course, January is all about planning and getting ready for the upcoming year as a small business owner. And today we're going to talk about how to know which platform is the best platform for you. Now, there are multiple platforms. There's like 7 big ones just off the top of my head. And you, as a small business owner, wear a lot of hats. So it can be extremely difficult to be everywhere all the time. I don't think you need to. You need to pick what's going to work for you and focus on that. And I will tell you the same thing I say in all of my consultations. Start with one, get really good at one, get comfortable with one before you add the next one. And most small businesses can have great social media success on 1 or 2 platforms. You do not have to be on 7 platforms. It is a lot of work to generate content for multiple platforms every single day, all the time. It's a lot. It can be exhausting. This is what we do, and it can be exhausting. So as a small business owner, I want to make sure that you know which platform is going to be the best selection for you. Let's go ahead and get started. And I focused on the big 5 today because really and truly there's 5. Yes, Twitter and Pinterest are still a thing. Pinterest took a pretty serious hit when TikTok became popular. And we're not even going to talk about Twitter because it is literally a dumpster fire. So we're going to focus on the other 5: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and TikTok, because those are the big ones with the big numbers. And again, as a small business owner, you have to get the biggest bang for your buck. And that means being where the most eyes can see you, where people who you are targeting can actually interact with you. So let's talk about, I always like to talk about the why. First and foremost, you need to know who's on each platform so you know how to target. But if you wanted to take it back just a little bit further, you need to understand where your personal targets are. So if you, and we talked about this some last week during audits, where you self-audit. And let's see, next week, what are we talking about next week? Branding and rebranding. But last week we talked about auditing. You have to understand where your specific audience is. So you need to look at your last, I'd say 6 to 18 months of invoices, and there's commonality there. You have a specific demographic. And we still hear all the time when I ask who's your best target, and people say everyone. It's not everyone. It's never everyone. You need to understand if your target is male, female, 22 or 65. Do they have a second home? Are they renting? What are their interests? What are their hobbies? Where do they spend their time? That's the kind of thing you need to understand about your ideal client avatar before you can target them successfully online. And if we learned anything in the last week, it's that social media, no matter how amazing it is rented. If your platform goes away, TikTok ban, those people are gone. Those followers are gone. You need to use social media to convert them to clients that you can email consistently so you can actually convert them to a paying customer. Your potential clients convert through exposure. And the best way to do that is through email. So just bear that in mind. Now, let's talk about the demographics for each of the individual platforms. And let's start with the big boy, Facebook. So not my favorite. Okay. Facebook has more than 3 billion with a B, monthly active users. It's the most popular social media platform in the world. It's pretty evenly divided between male, and female. And you have, shockingly, a lot of millennials. I was actually pretty surprised at this statistic. 49% of the audience on Facebook are millennials. For a long time, it was boomers. And the longest growing demographic were people over the age of 60, which again, I'm surprised it's millennials. So if they tell you I'm not on, millennial would be 25 to 44. I'm not on TikTok. They are. Facebook, they are. 40% are enrolled in monthly programs and giving programs. When I say giving, I mean contribution, donations. So nonprofits, this is for you. Facebook is a great place to collect donations, smaller reoccurring donations. Facebook is a good place for that. Most users on Facebook spend about 20 hours per month. So you're looking at about 30 minutes to an hour a day ish. Almost everyone accesses it through their phone. Now you do have the diehards who are a little bit older who only use their laptop, and that's totally okay. But 80% it's going to be on their phone. Most of the time spent on TikTok, 50% of the time spent on, I keep saying TikTok, I'm so sorry, Facebook. Most of the time spent on Facebook is on video. And 85% of those people are watching with the sound off. So make sure your captions are on so that your audience can actually see what you're saying while you're saying it. If you're going to put video on Facebook, I'm just saying. People still go to Facebook for the latest news and events. I know that's where I check for weather alerts with James Spann when we're going to have snow in the South because yuck. That's just where you go. More than half of users will take action after seeing a story on a brand's profile. And you're talking about over 70% of people message their friends and family through Facebook. And if you don't think Facebook is cultivating and sharing that information, you would be mistaken. Facebook Messenger is one of the most used tools to target you for ads. So be aware of that when you're in there talking to people. Seriously, Facebook Messenger, not that super secure. So watch out while you're in there. And most people, a little over half of people, say they're more likely to shop with a business if they can send a message on Facebook. That's just the way it is. We are trending to a slightly younger audience on Facebook because I think personally it's because their family members are on there. And when you want to share pics with the grandparents, that's where you go. You go to Facebook. 70% of the population in the United States uses it pretty consistently. Millennials do tend to skew just a little bit lower on and actually posting on other platforms. But so, okay, what does all this information mean? It means that you have to be on Facebook as a small business owner. Almost every single business in the world, regardless of who they are or who they sell to, needs a presence on Facebook. It carries the biggest weight. It's the biggest player. The most people are there. Google recognizes it as a resource. It's where the most people are going to go when they start processing information or start the process of looking for a vendor, a specific business, a resource. They're going to go to Facebook first. And if you don't have a Facebook page, you don't exist. So even if you keep a minimal presence on Facebook, you absolutely have to have a Facebook presence as a small business owner. And when people say, when you hear these, and we still hear this, are people on Facebook anymore? Yeah. 3 billion are on Facebook consistently monthly. We're talking about billions and billions of people are on Facebook all the time. So if you, just in closing for Facebook, if you're a business owner, you have to be on Facebook, period. Okay, now let's talk about Instagram, which is also owned by Facebook or Meta. Yay. It's the third most used social platform in the world. I don't think that's correct anymore because you're talking about Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. Instagram ranks at the top. 3, sure. 2 billion monthly active users worldwide with over 169 million in the US. So they haven't hit billion with a B in the US, but they're heading that direction. The average engagement rate is like 1.5%, which is terrible. It's not great, especially when you're looking at the fact that Instagram wants you to have stories, reels, and posts, and they're updating their grid again so that it's going to cause, they're going from a rectangle to a square, which is going to mess up the way that everything will. I will cover that in updates very shortly, but it's a lot of content to generate for a very small engagement. It is. You're looking at, it's the preferred platform for Gen Z, 16 to 26. So if you are targeting a younger audience, if you sell skateboards, it's Instagram. That's where they are. That's where they hang out. It is still pretty big for active for stories. You're talking about 500 million active users daily will go look at stories. And that's, again, there's 3 different forms of content. You have posts in your grid, which is where people go and they're researching your business or your brand or your industry. You have stories, which is how you engage your current followers, because that's where they go first. They go look at stories first so they can kind of find out what's new, what's going on, and what's happening. So stories are great for your engagement, and they do normally get higher than 1.5%. And then reels is how you get new eyes. So your people who follow you are going to engage with you best on stories, but if you want new followers, you need to do more reels. Seriously, reels account for more than half of the time actually spent on Instagram. That's where people hang out, although they do tend to check stories first. 86% of companies have Instagram for their business, very large numbers. Photo posts, shockingly, have the highest engagement rates for business accounts with like 2.5%, which is still, it's not great. Not great. As of like this time last year, February 2024, carousel posts saw engagement rates of between like 1 to 2%. Not great. Let me say that again. Reels see an average reach rate of about 30%. That is great. So you're starting to see the picture. Reels are going to get the most exposure while stories are going to get the most interaction. So just bear that in mind when you're creating your content. 44% of folks use the app to look up product reviews and look up information when they are looking for a product. 70% of shoppers look to the platform for their next purchase. I don't love the ads on there, but I will click through and kind of look at what they're offering if I'm interested in it. I'm more likely to do that on Instagram than I am on any other platform. I don't trust a lot of the stuff on Facebook because there's a lot of hackers and spammers, and there's a lot of folks who troll on Facebook. So I'm much more likely to trust an Instagram ad than a Facebook ad, and that's just me personally. But 70% of shoppers will go to this platform to find a purchase. So, and they also look there to discover inspiration and new ideas. Funny or entertaining content is the second most popular activity. About 64% of users engage in the humor, and I know I do. And you think about the last thing you shared. Was it funny? Probably so. And 90% of users follow one or more businesses. So it is a very normal thing to follow a business on Instagram. So what does all this mean for you? If you have a younger audience who is more visual, you definitely need to be on Instagram. And when I say more visual, I mean wedding, floral, cake decorating, dresses, fashion, makeup. This is the kind of stuff that really does well on Instagram because it's more visual. If you're going to be on Instagram, you have to make sure you allocate enough time, not just for the posts, but for stories and reels. It is a big ask. According to Instagram, their recommendation is insane to me. They want you to do 2 stories, morning, noon, and night. They want you to do multiple posts inside of a carousel, like 3-ish a day, 6 days a week, and they want a reel every day. We're talking about 60 pieces of content a week, which is just not realistic for the average small business owner. So you have to ask yourself, is this where I'm going to get the biggest bang for my buck? And if it is, if Instagram's your thing, that's great. Allocate enough time so that you're covering all your bases. Instagram recently announced they are no longer a primary photo sharing platform, which is ridiculous because they are. Photos get the biggest engagement of anything. Carousel photos still get some of their biggest engagement. So, aside from Reels, they still are a photo sharing app. They don't like it, but they are. They are shifting more, they say, to content creation for influencers and video. The last time I was on Instagram, I had a very distorted algorithm. It was not cultivated specifically for me. I didn't see a lot, just flipping through Reels, I didn't see a lot of people I follow. I saw a lot of stuff that they thought I should follow, which I don't love. And a lot of ads. So if you haven't started using Reels and you're a business, you probably should. I would recommend if you're going to be on Instagram, you have to dedicate some time to Reels. And if your audience is under 35, you definitely need to be on Instagram. Okay, now let's talk about LinkedIn. It's one of my favorites. LinkedIn and YouTube are the most not analytical. They're the most process driven. If you follow step 1 and 2, you'll get to step 3. Like, it's very linear. If you do it how you're supposed to do it, it works. That's not always the case with Facebook, and that is definitely not the case with Instagram. They change their algorithm constantly, and you can be pouring out this amazing content. Nobody sees it. So LinkedIn. What is LinkedIn? It is a business platform with over 810 million users. It's got 1 billion members, but only, so many people will actually be on there active. About 310 million monthly active users out of the 1 billion members. Recruiters, almost 90% of recruiters are on LinkedIn. Over 90% of Fortune 500 companies are on LinkedIn. 180 million senior level influencers, 65 million decision makers. You see where I'm going? If you are trying to engage as a person looking to get hired, as someone who is networking to make a sale, or as someone who is just growing their own network so they can have a better reach, it's LinkedIn. It is the professional version. You don't see a lot of junk on LinkedIn. You will still see some ads, and that's normal, but you don't see, there's no time for fluff. It's very business driven. One of the favorite features of most people on there, 72% of LinkedIn members, is who viewed your profile, because it can tell you who is checking you out so you know where to focus and what kind of audience that you're reaching, actually, because they'll go look at your profile. 97% of business-to-business marketers use LinkedIn as part of their content marketing strategy. It's a great place to put your blog or your podcast, just because you're going to have other professionals who see it. It's really millennial heavy, 87 million millennials, and a lot of people start looking for jobs on LinkedIn. And recruiters are on there. A lot of HR professionals use it either to vet open positions or review their current employees to kind of see what they're up to. So if you think your HR is not seeing your LinkedIn that you're looking for a job, they are. They are. 3 million, and this is, to me, the most interesting statistic. Only 3 million LinkedIn users actually share content on a weekly basis. So you're talking about 800 million people are on LinkedIn. 3 million share content. That tells me immediately that if you're one of those folks that shares content, you're much more likely to get engagement and be seen. You just are. And over 80% of business-to-business marketers say LinkedIn is the most effective social media platform for content marketing. And I can tell you from case studies that we've done, as long as you follow the formula, you will have growth. And when people say, is it realistic for me to have, add 500 people to my LinkedIn page? Yeah, if you put the time in, it totally is. You're going to cultivate those leads and connections through your profile to get them to your page, but it 100% is absolutely if you have the time to spend to do it. If you have a business and you market to other businesses or other professionals, you need to be on LinkedIn. Google really favors LinkedIn. When people Google your business name or your personal name, your LinkedIn profile, no matter how much time you spend on everything else, normally it's the first thing that shows up, and it'll show your face and your name and your headline. So this is where you can really, really make your biggest impact by having your call to action statement in your headline. And it indexes a lot of this stuff. So Google recognizes LinkedIn as a verifiable resource. So your blog, your podcast, really good to put on LinkedIn. If you have a customized URL for your profile and people Google you or your company, LinkedIn's popping up. That's just the way it is. So if you are a business and you target other businesses, you got to be on LinkedIn. Okay, now let's talk about TikTok, which is still here. And I would love to give you an update, but it changes every 5 minutes. Right now, it's been reinstated. We're on an extension. They are looking for a buyer for a company that's 60% American owned, which I don't understand at all, but it is what it is. So let's talk about how it can help you. We have our biggest following on TikTok by a long shot. It's a social media platform for creating, sharing, discovering short videos. It's known for its personalized feeds. The very best part of TikTok is the algorithm. That is what everybody, when I say everybody, other social media platforms want. They want the algorithm because it's the most intuitive resource they have. If I look at recipes and home decor and fashion, that is what I am going to get. If you look at 14-year-old dancing girls in leotards, that's what you're going to get. So each algorithm is customized to the person who's operating the profile. Bear that in mind. It has 1.5 billion monthly active users. It's right up there with Facebook. And we're talking about by the end of last year, I still don't have stats to verify this, but I think they hit 2 billion as of December of 2024. The United States is the largest collection of TikTok users globally. We have 170 million TikTok users who were so very angry last Sunday. Wow, it's a 30% increase over the previous year. It's the most popular domain as of 2021 with Google. It came in second to Google. That's a big deal. Facebook's not happy about that. It's the most engaging platform. It boasts an engagement rate of, on average, about 2.5%, which is higher than any other platform by followers. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it blows other platforms out of the water. You compare that engagement rate of Instagram, which is just below 1%, and Twitter, which is below 1%. It's not even Twitter's not even 0.5%. That's considerably higher. So yeah, if I'm going to spend time, it's not going to be on Twitter. Let me tell you, more Gen Z use TikTok than anything else. Millennials, Gen X, baby boomers. Although some of the fastest growing accounts are boomers. If you haven't been on TikTok in a minute, one of the fastest growing accounts is the retirement community because it's amazing and it's entertaining. Users spend about an hour a day on TikTok or more. I can tell you this user spends more. Users spend about 105 billion users spend 4 billion minutes watching TikTok videos each day. It's so much higher than Instagram for video watch. It is. 30% have used TikTok Shop, me included. Highest grossing app in 2023. 2023, it grossed 2.7 billion. Last year, it grossed 23 billion with a B. This year, it's on track to generate 32 billion with a B. This is the main reason I don't understand the TikTok ban. It creates so much revenue for the 170 million users in the United States. Getting rid of it would be a huge financial blow. So don't get that at all. 63% of TikTok videos that highlight a brand's key message in the first 3 seconds will get a higher click-through rate. Entertainment is by far the most popular category. Like 41% of TikTok users say that's where they get their main news, and every news station's on there. So that is a possibility. You can do CNN, Fox News, C-SPAN, 60 Minutes. They're all on there. So are most politicians, which I also think is interesting since they voted unanimously to ban it. But hey, they didn't ask me. 85% of brands are planning to increase their spend in 2024 and 2025. Millennials are more likely to tag a product than any other platform. That's not a shocker. And micro influencers, this is interesting to me. They have an engagement rate of about 18%, which is crazy high. Influencers with fewer than 15,000 followers do especially well on TikTok. We do. Average engagement rate is about 18%, and macro influencers have an engagement rate of about 6%. You can make a big splash with a small business on TikTok. It just takes 1 or 2 videos to blow up for it to be life-changing. And if you don't believe me, go check out Cool People. Yeah, that's Becky right there. Yeah. And the new family member, Charmy. Absolutely. You cultivate your own algorithm 100%. So, okay. So what does all this mean? Does TikTok influence people? Yeah, a lot. There are artists whose music is being downloaded. Jax is one of the biggest ones I can think of. She sang Victoria's Secret. It made a huge game changer for her. It got her on the map. You have artists who have not been recognized on anywhere else who will explode. They start on TikTok before people move it on over to Apple and Spotify. So does it work? It sure does. Chloe Bluffcakes, she makes big cookies. That's her thing. And she ships them all over the country, all over the world. Started on TikTok with her in-home business, and now she's moved to a major bakery with a storefront. It does work. People are picking up cool finds on Amazon because they saw it on TikTok. I'm particularly guilty to go from one to the other. If you have the bandwidth and you are generating in a video to support a Instagram Reels, you can definitely support TikTok because you can recycle that content. It's very similar. They're formatted the same. The hashtags are similar. The duration of videos, the formatting, it's all very similar. So if that appeals to you, you could definitely recycle that content from one to the other. Again, we get our biggest bang on TikTok, so we focus on it more than any of the other platforms just because it's where we get the best engagement. Okay. YouTube's last. Ooh, this is a long one today. You guys, thanks for hanging with me. But you do need to know the analytics so you know where to go. It's the second largest search engine in the world and the largest search engine for videos. YouTube's algorithm ranks videos based on a number of factors, including who watches it, where they are, how long they watch it, if they're more likely to engage, if they're more likely to purchase. It's all of that stuff goes into their algorithm. So looking at stats for the United States, about 85% of all internet users in the US have watched an online video at least once this month. Almost 90% of consumers want to see more video content from a brand, and we still have businesses who will not get in front of a camera. Over 90%, we're talking up to 96% of marketing professionals use video as a marketing tool. 78% of consumers claim they have been influenced by a brand's social media presence and made a purchasing decision based on a video. Video marketers get 60% more qualified leads per year. 93% of marketers say they've landed a new customer thanks to a video on social media. Most users are going to spend more time because they're going to watch the video. If they're interested in it, they're going to watch it. As opposed to if it's a picture, you read it, you're gone. Videos that keep your interest can take 7 seconds, 30 seconds, 4 minutes. It just depends on how deep the rabbit hole goes and how interesting the content is. Most people, 70% of people, would rather use video to learn about a product instead of having to read about it. They just want to watch it. YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world. I think I said that, especially for video. In 2024, over 1 billion with a B hours of content are watched on YouTube every day. Viewers are much more likely to remember a call to action, like over 90% are going to remember a call to action watching it in a video as compared to 10% when they read it in text. That is huge difference, variation in numbers. YouTube has more than 2.5 billion monthly active users. Most adults, like 80%, are on YouTube, pretty even between male and female. Decision makers are on there-ish, but decision makers are on every single platform. And people will buy after seeing a brand. So what does all this mean? Okay. To sum it up kind of for YouTube, in 2025, if you have not embraced video as part of your marketing plan, it is way past time. People spend time on YouTube to research. You can break out on YouTube when you've not been able to break out on Facebook or Instagram. Why? What's the difference? YouTube feeds people similar content. It is the search engine. It is owned by Google. So when people are looking for a specific phrase like how to repair my washing machine, they're going to YouTube. And because it's connected to Google, they can push them then to your business if that's what you do. If someone searches how to fix an air conditioner, how to cut my own bangs, how to, the right questions to ask when you're buying a car, all of that stuff is on YouTube. It's going to give them all the videos related to what they're looking for based on keywords. And it's very possible that your video can come up if you have the right keywords in it. That's why keywords are so critical on YouTube and your blog and your website, because it's Google based, which generates your traffic. I mean, it does. Facebook doesn't work like that. Facebook's going to show you what they want to show you. Sometimes it's based on keyword if you do very specific searches, but most of the time it's not. YouTube is. If you have the right keywords, it's going to pop up. And on Facebook, you may or may not find it. That's just the way it is. So in short, or long, because we've been long today, you definitely need to consider where you want to spend your time as a small business owner. You do not have to be all things to all people. You do not have to be on every single platform, especially Twitter, because it's the worst. target based on what works for you. Get really good at one before you add the next one. And if you want information specific to your business or you want feedback about how you're doing, we do audits. Reach out to me, leave a comment on this video. It's one of my favorite things to do is go through, and it takes me 60 to 90 minutes. We sit down with the business owner. We're going to review your entire website presence and all of your social media presence and make suggestions on how you can improve and grow based on your goals and targets. So that is it for me this week. Next week, what are we talking about next week? Next week, we are talking about branding and rebranding. Is it time? Maybe. We're going to find out next week. Until then, I'm Karen Terradas with Social U, and I'm here to help. Thanks.
Thanks for joining us for the Social University podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media at Stay Social U. That's the letter U, and we will talk to you next week. Remember, you've got this.